Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice 7-game NBA slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Hopefully everybody did well yesterday. We had some awesome plays on yesterday's slate, so hopefully we can get another big game slate here today, have a big win. Let's get into it. So we have a pretty extensive injury report. I will note that the LA Lakers game is not on the slate. This is the one late game for this for the NBA, so do keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and get into the slate here. So we have, for the Rockets, Eason and Brooks is out. For the Wizards, Shamet is questionable. For the Hawks, Hunter is out. For the Warriors, CP3 is out and Green is doubtful. For the Bucks, Crowder's out. For the Magic, Carter Jr., Franz Wagner, Fultz, Ingles, and Harris are all out. For the Knicks, Robinson is out, and Brunson is questionable. For the Grizzlies, Adama is questionable. Bain is doubtful. Morant, Smart, and Rose are all out. For the Pelicans, Ingram is questionable, McCollum is questionable, Zion is doubtful, Murphy is doubtful. For the Mavericks, Lively is questionable, Green is questionable, Kleber is questionable, Doncic is out, and Exum is out. For the Bulls, Levine is questionable, and Craig is out. For the Spurs, Wemby is out, and Collins is out. So we have lots of injuries today. I will get into my core plays here. So first of all, we're going to have Tim Hardaway Jr. He becomes a freaking lock whenever Doncic remains out. If you look at last game when Doncic was out against the Knicks, he scored a whopping 51 fantasy points. He doesn't need that. He needs 29 fantasy points to pay off. I expect him to cover that relatively easily in this one. He tends to have really solid games here, and as you can see in the past, even when just one of Kyrie or Doncic is out, he typically has really solid games. So I like his upside here quite a bit. He is my only core play because he is the only super great value play on the slate. Everybody else seems a little bit riskier than him, so do keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and look at other options today. We're going to look at Dario Saric for the Warriors. Now, he started the last game, and assuming Draymond Green doesn't magically come back today, I expect Saric to potentially get another starting opportunity. He's had some games where he's increased his minutes recently, though he has been somewhat inconsistent in the minutes. He's cheap enough that he's worth a look if he does have the opportunity to get those minutes again, as he's playing pretty well right now and has some nice upside. As long as Kuminga stays on the bench, then Saric has some potential here. Looking at Vucevic for the Bulls, now he has been not nearly as consistent as we'd like. He is a GP play as a result. However, he's played pretty good in some games, and he's got that high ceiling which he can get over 50 fantasy points in a dime. He also has double-double potential. He's had some inconsistencies recently, but his price being this cheap makes him a viable option, especially against the Spurs where they don't have Wemby, so he's going to have a free reign to go up against any big that he wants. Looking at Trae Young, he was very close to being a core play for me today, as he has some absolutely monster upside here against the Wizards. In the last game against the Wizards, he scored a whopping 71 fantasy points, and in 3 games against the Wizards this season, he's averaging 57. See if I can find it here. Yep, so he had 70 fantasy points in that one, which was a double-double of 40 points and 13 assists. I expect him to get double-digit assists in this game. He's going to want to bounce back after the lackluster games against Indiana in the last 2 weeks, and I expect him to have a pretty monster game, as he's really only just having had some soreness in his shoulders, so do keep that in mind. But I think he's going to have a huge monster game here, and so he's definitely worth a look. Looking at Kyrie Irving here for the Mavericks, he's also in play today, like Tim Hardaway Jr., though he does carry more risk. He's had 5 straight games, over 50 fantasy points, and he's had some absolutely monster games in that stretch, especially with Doncic out last game. He scored 70 fantasy points. He definitely was close to being a core play as well, but he does carry a little bit of risk as this matchup isn't perfect. But we'll also have to wait and see what the Pelicans situation is going to be, because they have their 3 best players all questionable or doubtful, so it's possible that he's playing against a skeleton crew, and if that's the case, he'll have more upside as a result, and he would probably move into core play position. Looking at Daniel Gafford, Gafford is purely a guy that I like in certain situations, and this is one of them against Atlanta with a very lackluster defense against big guys. As you can see, they're ranked pretty close to the worst in this position, and he has some really nice upside at. He's also averaged 27 fantasy points against Atlanta this season, which is right about where he needs to be. Obviously, we want him to get higher than that, and he's definitely got that potential today. He's had a couple good games recently, which give him some upside as well, so he's definitely worth a look. Definitely not a top-tier play, but he's a decent play in the slate. Shea Alexander isn't just a phenomenal player so far this season. He's been absolutely a monster throughout the season, scoring over 50 fantasy points in most games. The last game, he played 21 minutes and scored 44 fantasy points. That's literally almost 2 fantasy points a minute played. The only downside in that game was is that the Thunder blew the crap out of the Trailblazers, which led to him only playing 21 minutes. He still had a monster game as a result, though, scoring 31 points. I expect him to get over 30 points in this one. Orlando is a team that tends to be a little bit better defensively, but he is matchup proof as they come, and he's been absolutely dominating, especially this game being at home. I like his potential here as a great option on the slate. Then we're going to look at Julius Randle, who has been absolutely phenomenal lately, especially with Mitchell Robinson out. He's really upped his game, and he's averaging a very high fantasy perspective for lately. His price is still good at under $9,000, which is somewhat surprising. I expected it to be in the 9,500 range today, and it is a little bit lower, so he definitely has a lot of potential. He has good upside in this matchup, and he's a great option on the slate, though he does carry some risk. Looking at DeMar DeRozan for the Chicago Bulls, he's very similar to Vucevic. His price has dropped down quite a bit as a result of his inconsistent play, but this matchup is very good for them, for the Bulls, and they do have some potential here. They are favored to win the game, and it isn't the lowest scoring game on the slate, which is a benefit as well, though it is close to being the lowest one. He definitely draws some potential here. He's formerly a GPP play, though, so do keep that in mind. If Levine was to miss again, that would definitely help his usage as well. But he's been solid against the Spurs this season, averaging 40 fantasy points, so he's definitely worth a look. But he definitely carries some risk. I do have some value plays for you that are kind of high risk, high reward, but we'll just kind of run through these real quick and kind of give you my quick uh, idea about those guys. So looking at Moritz Wagner, he is a value play today. Now he's played very well lately with Franz Wagner out, though his price has popped up as a result. He definitely carries some risk because he hasn't ever been very consistent in the past, but I do like his potential with the fact that he's actually had several games over 30 fantasy points over the last few games. Looking at Sadiq Bey, he's not going to wow you with a crazy game, but he's played pretty consistent for most of the season. He's a pretty solid option at $5,700. He's definitely worth a look, though he definitely carries some risk here, but this is a great matchup. Looking at Gilliard for Memphis, now he carries some very Hail Mary-esque situation here, as he did get a couple of starts with Morant out once he was healthy, but he hasn't been healthy consistently. Now that Morant is out with injuries, he should get more minutes. I would like to see him start, though, to make him a quality play, but he definitely carries some risk as a result. But if he doesn't draw the start, then he's probably not worth a look. Looking at Dante DiVincenzo for the Knicks, he has surprisingly been consistent since Quickly was moved on to the Toronto Raptors, and I like his potential here, though he definitely has a low floor, as he does tend to be somewhat scoring dependent from his fantasy perspective. He definitely has been playing well, and he's definitely worth a look, though the Knicks are somewhat inconsistent with that. Looking at the Pelicans, this is going to be a kind of a team situation here. When we look at the Pelicans, they have multiple guys that are questionable and doubtful today, and Ingram, McCollum, and Zion. I'm not sure why uh, they are not showing here this on DraftKings yet, but at any rate, those three guys are all questionable or doubtful. I think Zion is closer to doubtful today. And if those guys were to miss, Herb Jones, Larry Nance Jr., uh, Dyson Daniels, and Najee Marshall would all get some potential today. I will note that Troy Murphy is also unlikely to play in this. Or sorry, Trey Murphy is unlikely to play in this one. So they would definitely have some potential here. I also wanted to note the Spurs with Wimby out and Collins out. Barlow should potentially draw a start here, I would say, but if he doesn't, whoever does draw the start would have some potential. But I do think it'll be a bit of a by committee approach for the big guys in this game, so they'll probably be somewhat difficult to roster. Though So Chan definitely has, and Keldon Johnson definitely have some potential here if uh, if you know, assuming Wemby stays locked out for today. So, with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. And have a nice day, guys.